everyone, Nick from Confident Video here, and today I'm here making another video on the floor. And this video is a video that actually came out as a result of yesterday's video, which is my Anime Milwaukee itinerary. If you haven't seen that, I do recommend that if you are going to Anime Milwaukee or you want to know the content that I'll be making for that convention. So once I took my footage into my editing software, which is Adobe Premiere Pro, I noticed that a lot of my footage was pretty blue just based on how the light was coming in. All I'm using is ambient light, so I really didn't have any really white LED lights shining on me. I'm just using the ambient light from the windows that are right on that side and then on that side. So I noticed it was very blue, so I made the decision that I should do some color correction. And I think that this is something that a lot of people don't really look at in terms of just vlogs, but I think it actually makes your vlogs look a lot better and more professional. And especially if you're doing stuff like films or even cosplay music videos, I try to color correct in those as well. So I'm really going to try to talk to you guys about the importance of color correction and color grading in any type of video that you do. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the difference between color correction and color grading. Now, color correction is the correction of all of your shots. So if you're shooting in multiple locations, like if you're shooting a short film and you're changing settings, you want all those shots to look like they were all shot in the same place at the same time. So you might have a shot that might look a little bit darker or not as saturated as a certain shot, and you want to make it look like all the other shots that you did. So the settings you'll be messing around with the most in color correction are highlights, shadows, and mids. You can go into a lot more than that, but those are the three main ones that you really do want to mess with, especially if you're starting out. And these are going to give you that perfect combination of the right amount of shadow that you need, some highlights that you might need, and then combining that and messing around with that in all the shots to make it look like they're just one consistent shot. I fortunately didn't have to do any color correction necessarily in my vlog. You can consider it color correction, but I would consider it more to be color grading. And that's because all of it was taken in one shot, one continuous shot on the floor in the same location. So I didn't really need to adjust any shadows or highlights or anything like that. All I needed to do was change the color temperature. And that's one of the things that you'll mostly be doing in color grading. So when you see a certain film that has a certain color to it, they're trying to give you a certain feel just by looking at what's being shot. So you'll see some movies that are shot really blue and have a lot of cool colors in it, and then you'll see certain films that are shot with really warm colors. And the reason for that is that they want you to kind of have this certain feeling to it. However, if you really don't want it to have a certain feeling, you want the colors to be as balanced as possible. And that's why I made the decision to color correct my vlog, is because it looked really blue and it just really didn't look right, and a lot of the colors, especially my skin tone, looked very pale. And that's one thing that I think that really bumps up the quality of any of your videos that you make, and I think it's something that a lot of people should actually be considering. Now obviously, if you don't have the best editing software in the world and you kind of just take your clips and you put it into, let's say, Windows Movie Maker, you probably don't have the option to color correct. But if you have an editing software such as Sony Vegas or Adobe Premiere or any other state-of-the-art editing software that a lot of filmmakers use, they're going to have those options in them. And even when you use something like Adobe Premiere, it's even sometimes better to take those into After Effects because you have a lot more color correcting options in there. Adobe Premiere is really great if you have something like a vlog that you really don't need to mess around with that much, but if you can take it into After Effects, it's a lot easier, especially because those two programs really do work well with one another. So you can right click on some footage in your sequence and then you can actually take that right into After Effects. It'll launch After Effects for you, it'll put it into its own sequence, and then when you're done with that, it'll automatically put it back into your sequence in Premiere. So I do that, a lot of that when I'm doing color correction. It's a lot easier that way, especially if I have to mess with a lot more curves. So one of the common ways you'll see people do color grading and color correction is using curves. And what that is, you'll see it as a straight line, and then you get to move the line depending on what you want. So the upper right is usually highlights and contrast and saturation, and then the low end is more shadows. So you really kind of want to get that S curve, as a lot of filmmakers say, because that really does give you the best of both worlds. It gives you the brighter highlights and the darker shadows. So what we're actually going to do right now is we're going to go to my computer and we're going to look at the footage before I used color correction on the shots and after I used color correction on the shots. And you actually are going to see how much of a difference it actually makes and how much better the footage actually looks after I adjusted some of those levels. So This is especially important if you don't really understand how color correction and color grading works, because it'll actually make your videos look way better. Hey guys, so as you can see, we are now at my computer right now. We are in Adobe Premiere Pro, and this is the footage and the timeline for the Anime Milwaukee itinerary video that I just uploaded yesterday as of when I filmed this video. As you can see, the colors look pretty good. It's a really good range. You can see my dog back there just chilling out. However, if you do notice in the background, you can see that the lighting looks a little weird, and that's because this is obviously color corrected. So I went into my effect controls, and as you can see, I have one of my effects being RGB curves. The reason why I didn't take this into After Effects was because I really just wanted to get this video out as soon as possible, and messing around in After Effects can kind of take a while. It is pretty seamless to do, but I really did want to mess around with this. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this clip and we're going to turn the effect off, and as you can see, it looks a lot more blue, and I don't know how light works, but if my guess is that it was because there was still snow on the ground, so it was kind of reflecting off of that snow and then bringing in this really blue, icky light that I don't really need for the vlog. However, if I was shooting some sort of short film and I wanted it to be pretty blue, this would be something that I would want. That kind of shows you a little bit of what that looks like, and here's the difference. So how I did it was, here's what we'll do. We'll go over here, we'll bring in this sequence, this one right here. So as you can see, this whole clip is pretty blue. My hair looks kind of okay, I don't know, looks alright. So here's what I did. So I go into effects, video effects, color correction, and then I went to RGB curves. You can also do RGB color corrector. Either one works, and then you just go to effect controls, and this will, you can move these around. That I prefer using curves. I just like using curves. It just makes a little bit more sense to me. Here's the master curves where you can adjust highlights. So if you want it to look a little bit more brighter, but you want some of the darkness to kind of still be there, you can kind of make what's an S curve. That's a little bit too much, but if I wanted to, if you wanted to do that, you could. I think I just brought it up just a little bit. I just made it a little bit lighter where the lights were, and the shadows were fine. So then what I did is because this was very blue, I went to the red, and I cranked up the red just a little bit. And as you can see, that already is made quite a bit of a difference. However, you don't want to overdo it because you don't want it to look like this, obviously, unless if for some reason you want your film to look red. I don't know why you would, but so even this light has changed. Like even this much brings out my skin tones a lot better, as you can see, which is the most important part, is the face, because this is a vlog. You do really want the focus to be on my face. So I guess what we could do is we could bring down that just a little bit. Here, we'll move this up. So obviously you don't want my face to be overexposed either, which it kind of is in some of the shots. However, there's not much I can do for that. And then what I did is I brought this in, I took the blue down. So that's basically what I did. You can also mess with the greens. Obviously, if you had more green, it's going to look like that. But if you take away green, it's going to look red, because the opposite of green is red, and that's how RGB works. That's how I did it. I put the effect on the entire shot, so I don't, like, after I do a shot, I don't stop recording. So I just do the entire shot. One thing I did do is, because Premiere was running a little bit slow, because as you can see, this red line means that it may run slower. When I was doing playback, it was lagging a little bit. See if it does it this time. Yeah, so as you can see, it sometimes skips, and so you want to hear audio cuts. So a pause in the audio is a cut. I cut out a lot of uhs and ums and likes and all that. Sometimes it works. So what I did then at that point was I just turned off the effect by hitting that FX. I cut it up, and then I manually re-entered. What I would do is I would do this. So, and then let's say this is the Final Cut version. I would click this clip, and then I would click this clip, would click this clip, and so on and so forth. So that's how I did it, and that's pretty much all there really is to it. You can go into it a lot more than this. You can do a lot more. Let's see if I can bring it back up. You can also do three-way color corrector. There's a lot of options in not only Premiere but After Effects as well. This is another way so you can work with the midtones and the highlights to kind of get a feeling that you want. So if you wanted to, you could make all of it almost exactly the same, and it would almost give you the same effect. However, if you wanted your highlights to have a certain color to it, so any of the high ends on, I believe it's a histogram, I will edit that in if it's wrong. So anything that is on the high end of histogram will change to a certain color. So let's say I want it really, really freaking, oh, you can also choose what color you want it to be. So let's say the highlights are here. You can, yeah. So this is how you do it in Premiere. I don't know if I have After Effects on here. We'll see. I don't have After Effects installed on my personal computer, but how you would take it into After Effects is you would right-click and you would do Replace with After Effects Composition. And what this would do is it would load up a new After Effects file and put this clip in a sequence, and then you could also do everything in there. And then when you would close After Effects, or you would save it as a file, whatever you would want to do, it would automatically come back in here as an After Effects file. In conclusion, with just this tutorial, there's a lot of ways to do color correction. I recommend doing curves. I think it's a lot easier to do because, especially for beginners, it is important to do. Like I'm saying, it's a simple process too. Like that took me all of 5 minutes to do. It takes me 5 minutes to do this. Like it's pretty easy to do, especially if you know what you're doing. I moved the master up just a little bit, not even barely anything, just because it was a little dark. Move it up just a tad, move that up a tad, move that down a little bit, and then what you get is just this. And that just makes your video look a lot better, because you don't really want blue in your vlog. If you are doing something like a short film, that would be a lot better for that. So that's it for the tutorial portion. So in conclusion, using color correction and color grading in something as simple as vlogs can actually add a lot of professionalism into your shots, especially if you aren't using a lot of really bright white LED lights, because that honestly does remove a lot of the color into it, and you really don't need to add certain color temperatures into your videos, especially if it's a vlog. However, if you're doing something like making film, or you're making a skit, or you're doing something like a cosplay music video, if there's a certain feel that you want, it is really important to do color correction, because just the way that the color temperature is in your video is going to actually give the viewer a certain feeling that they want to have. So a lot of really cool colors you'll see in a lot of somewhat tense situations, and then if you look at a lot of warmer colors, it's kind of supposed to make you feel a certain way. So I'm actually going to post a couple links in the description that will kind of show you color palettes in movies, so you'll kind of be able to see a trend with certain movie genres that they'll have a certain color temperature to them. I'll also link the Rocket Jump Film School video on color correction and color grading. That'll kind of give you a more behind the scenes kind of view of how professionals view color correction and color grading, but that's obviously only if you want to do color correction and color grading in something like a video or a film. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video on color correction and color grading. I will certainly be doing more of these kind of film or video discussion-led topics in the future. So I really hope that you guys did enjoy this video, and I will certainly make more soon. So I hope you guys really did enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next video.